Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built. And now that the Rockster is not quite as ugly as it used to be, hopefully we can now start doing some upgrades. And first thing is, I think it needs a new dash. Hey guys, welcome back, and those of you who've been watching previously will know that this is the Rockster. This was formerly the ugliest Porsche in Australia that after last episode I finally took a lot of the bits and pieces that were horribly put onto it by the previous owner. I freed it from its captivity as the ugliest Porsche in Australia and made it look a little bit nicer. And those who have been following the build, this had some very horrible modifications done to it. If you want to see what they all were, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. And think about subscribing. It does help us out. So one of the things that I did last week was I took off a whole bunch of these, which was the diffuser on the back of the car and a diffuser on the front of the car. I don't know why you do that, but maybe extra aerodynamics. They're actually door stops. They actually say door stop on them. And a bunch of you showed interest in getting one of these door stops. So what I've come up with is I have 12 door stops. So 6 door stops are going to go to patrons, and then the 6 for everybody else. So if you're a patron, or you sign up as a patron, you've got a much better chance of getting a doorstop than everybody else. And basically what I want is the first 6 people in each category to tell me what the worst modification was, particularly the most detrimental modification to the car was on this car. If you remember it, there's something that probably led to the engine blowing up in the first place. So the first 6 to mention that, and I will be sending you out the door stops. So start applying. Now, because I made the outside look a lot better last week, I thought it was time this week to start tackling the inside. And the first thing I wanted to have a look at was putting a new dash in the car. With the engine conversion, putting the Audi V8 into this car, obviously most of the gauges don't work, and I could potentially go through and get them going, but it still is not going to show me all the information I would like. Particularly on a race car, I want to know what my oil pressure is. I want to know what my my temperatures are, and my EGTs, and all sorts of stuff. If I can have all that information ready to go, that would be fantastic. And that's where PowerTune Digital have come in, and they've sent me this PowerTune Digital dash, which is fantastic dash that links in with factory ECUs or almost any aftermarket ECU, just depending on what you've got. They've got ways to integrate it with all of them. And it's a CAN-based dash system, so that I can actually send any information I have from my ECU or information that I have that's outside the ECU that I want to send to the dash, and I can customize that dash into any way I want with any gauge or display. It's infinitely adjustable, just up to how much I want to be able to see. Yeah, it's a great idea. So I think that's what I'm going to get stuck into first on this car. So let's start getting it out and start working out how to install it into the Rockster. Okay, so for the fitment in the car, I just used the mount that came with it, and with a bit of playing around, I removed the top cover of the steering wheel from the dash, and it screws onto this nicely, and I test fitted in the car. It fits in nicely, so I've got my location sorted. So the next thing I tackled was on this particular unit. I got it with the add-on GPS. So this can actually have a GPS unit so you can log lap times and things like that. It can also integrate with a GoPro. So that should be handy for when I'm actually doing track days in this, and I can actually run the telemetry through the GoPro and have it on the screen when to go with the video. So that should work quite nicely in my case particularly. To add on the GPS, they've just got a little cover. They give you a little circuit board. I just screwed the circuit board on under this cover in here. It only goes in one position, so it's pretty easy to do, and just connect it up. It's quite straightforward. That's pretty easy. So that's done. Now, the next thing I want to do is actually wire the power to the car. It needs a accessories-driven 12 volts, not through a USB cable or through a cigarette lighter or anything, just a directly connected 12 volts at 2.5 amps. So I'm actually going to remove the stereo from this car because it doesn't work, and I'm not going to be keeping it in the car anyway. And I'm going to use the power from that to now be the power for the dash. All right, this is actually going reasonably smoothly. It's the dash part is done, the ignition wiring is done on accessories, power. The last thing I need to do is actually connect it up to the ECU itself. And they give you in the kit an ECU wire, depending on your ECU, whatever you ask for. And this particular wire goes to some of the other Link ECU models. In this particular model, it already has CAN inputs as part of the wiring loom, and I've already used them on the two O2 sensors, and because it's a CAN input, I just need to connect these in place, and apparently it can handle up to like 100 inputs or something like that through the CAN wires. So again, I just have to splice these into the high and low and run it to the dash at the front. Because my ECU is right in the back of the car, I need some extra wires, so I've actually gone into my old Link ECU wiring, and I've got a couple of these sheath insulated cables. So to get the length, I'm going to use some of the sheath cable, run it up to the dash and connect it up that way. So let's start feeding this through and connecting it up, and yeah, and then see if we can get this dash going. All right, we're all mounted in, so moment of truth, let's turn it on and see if it works. We have liftoff. All right, well, I've just been playing around with this a little bit, just to getting a bit of an idea of what's available, and it's got a couple of these standard gauge layouts that are already ready to go, but you can customize everything as much as you like and change all of this. You don't have to keep any of this. You can make it up complete yourself. So just by double tapping on the screen, it brings up this option menu where I can add more gauges or subtract or do whatever I like. So for example, if I just go to, I want to add an oil pressure gauge. So I've selected oil pressure gauge, is there, and I want to add it, and I want a round oil pressure gauge, so it adds a round oil pressure gauge. And then I can go through into that little menu itself, and I can make it the size I want, make it smaller, place it where I want, and I can change the color. You know, that's a little bit bright, so maybe a blue. There's an infinite number of changes, etc. you can do, and then just close it up, and there you go. You've got your oil pressure gauge, and so you can customize all of this information. You don't have to use their background. You can upload your own. You can do whatever you like. I think it's a fantastic option here, and it'll take a little bit of playing around to sort of select the things that I want to show. You can also program in warnings, so it'll come up with a warning on the screen when it hits 8,000 RPM. Danger to manifold came up on the screen. You can do whatever you like. You can set it so that when the oil pressure drops too low, when the temperature gets too high, it can flash up a warning on the screen instantly to give you that heads up, so you can shut the car down straight away or whatever you need to do in the screen. I am very, very happy. I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to the Rockster when we eventually get it actually on the track. All right, I'm super happy with this dash, and I'm going to have to do some more calibration and sorting out exactly what I want to show on the screen when the engine's running properly again, because at the moment it's been out in the weather and we've had horrendous rain for a while, and it seems to be playing up again, and it's not starting again. So I'm not going to be able to go further with this right now, but at least I can fix up a couple of other things. Now, one of the things that I definitely don't want to keep is this horrible steering wheel, which is completely battered and worn, and yeah, not going back on the car. So there's a few more upgrades I can put on this car while the car's still here, and one of them is going to be a very nice race steering wheel. This is a Raceworks unit, MVP, which is now rebranded to just Raceworks. So I'm going to fit a steering wheel next. It's going to be just a little bit nicer in the car. So let's fit that. All right, this is starting to feel a lot more like a race car, and the wheel and the dash are part of it. The other thing that I need to work on is it's particularly bad on 986s and 996s is the gear shifting feel. It's a cable-driven unit, but the issue is that all of the parts are all plastic, and thankfully, Ben Auto Design actually reached out to me with this beautiful billet shifter replacement for the 996, 986, and I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to the car, and yeah, really improve that shift feel. This is all, yeah, fantastic billet parts that will make this a lot nicer to use. So I'm going to pull this apart now, swap this in, and then hopefully we have a very nice crispy shifter. All right, so this is the original shifter. As you can see, everything is plastic. This plastic little square thing on the end here just sort of slots into this hole. That just sort of slides in a plastic hole. The ends of these plastic tubes sort of roll in these things. You have to break. There's a bunch of these little tabs around the edge they're holding it into the inside. They sit into this housing like this, and you need to break a bunch of these tabs off to get them out. You can't reuse them. There's no way to get them out otherwise. So most of this comes apart relatively easily, and it's pretty straightforward. And if you have a look at this Ben Auto Design unit, you can see that it's all billet on bearings. It's just a beautifully made piece of gear. Again, yeah, it's all this billet bearings. It's just very, very nice, very well made unit. So let's start assembling it now and putting it all back. It still goes into this this housing, and it just should be a lot firmer and more positive feel. Well, that's the hope. To get these little parts out of these ends, you need to break them out. The rest of it is all reasonably self-explanatory in the way it all goes together. There's little circlips that go onto these two ends, tighten it up, and now it's all replaced quite nicely, and it's just so positive, so firm, and everything is just very nicely made. It's a very neat looking kit. Yeah, so benautodesign.fr, worth a look, because this looks very nice. So I'm going to put this back in the car now with this really cool looking carbon fibre gear knob. So that is going to go back in the car, and yeah, I like it. All right, this is feeling more and more like a race car every day. If only it would run properly, but that's something I'm going to tackle next episode. But it's really nice to be able to do some of these sort of positive upgrades that really help. The dash was a big thing to try and get in so that I can, when I'm running it and when I'm testing these things, I can have the temperature and all this information right here that I can read, because at the moment all these other gauges weren't connected, so they weren't actually doing anything. So I really need to know what's going on with the car, yeah, that's a big fantastic addition. And just the touch points being better, it's all moving towards making this a car that's going to be really nice to use on track. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Do all the things, like and subscribe. If you want to watch the videos a day before everybody else, ad-free, join us on Patreon. And if you need parts for any of your Porsches, including the not quite as ugly as it used to be Boxster, remember to compare prices at PorschePartsByJeff.com first. All right, guys, see you on the next one.